You know, we all know someone like this. They're incredibly smart, super talented, they work their tail off, but they're always broke. It's a puzzle, right? If talent and hard work are supposed to be the keys to success, why isn't it working out for them? Well, the answer isn't what you think, and that's exactly what we're diving into today. So, this is the big question. Why do so many gifted people just spin their wheels financially? It's definitely not about working harder. Turns out, the talent isn't the problem at all. The real missing piece is mental. It's about installing a totally new operating system for your brain. And this right here, this perfectly captures that shift. It's a core idea from Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He says that when you say, I can't afford it, you're slamming the door on your brain. It's a full stop. There's nowhere to go. But if you ask, how can I afford it? Well, that's a question that flips a switch and forces your brain to get creative and start hunting for solutions. That, right there, is the difference between being passive and being active with your life. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at this talent paradox and the 5 big inner obstacles that cause it. Then we're going to build a toolkit to tear those obstacles down using systems, focus, and people skills. And finally, we'll pull it all together so you can build a whole new path forward. So, according to Kiyosaki, the real things holding talented people back, they aren't external factors like a bad economy or a lack of good jobs. Nope. The biggest roadblocks are internal. They're the mental barriers we build ourselves. Let's break down the 5 major ones. First up, fear. And we're talking specifically about the fear of losing money. You know, for most people, the pain of losing $100 feels way worse than the joy of gaining $100. This fear is absolutely paralyzing. It stops people cold from investing or taking the smart, calculated risks you need to take to build wealth. See, the wealthy look at failure as a learning opportunity, while for so many others, it's a disaster to be avoided no matter what. Number 2 is cynicism. That's that little voice in your head that whispers, oh, that'll never work. Cynics are fantastic at pointing out problems, but they're terrible at taking action. They're so busy poking holes in every opportunity that they miss all of them. As Kiyosaki puts it, cynics criticize, winners analyze. Winners don't just dismiss an idea, they get curious and figure out how to make it work. Okay, this one might sting a bit, laziness. But hold on, it's not about being a couch potato. We're talking about a mental laziness. It's the habit of saying, I can't, instead of actually firing up your brain. It's keeping yourself busy with a million little tasks so you can avoid asking the big, scary financial questions. It's just easier to accept things as they are than to actively think your way to a better future. You know, our entire lives are really just a reflection of our habits. These tiny, repeated actions just compound over time, for better or for worse. A classic bad financial habit is paying all your bills and the government first, then seeing if there's anything left for you. The rich, they flip that script completely. Their core habit is to pay yourself first. And it's not about being irresponsible. It's a powerful discipline that forces you to prioritize building your own assets. And finally, we have arrogance. But really, arrogance is just ego's way of hiding ignorance. If you think you already know everything there is to know about money, well, you can't learn anything new, can you? The financial world changes constantly. The second you stop learning is the second you start losing. Admitting you don't know something isn't a weakness. It's the first step to becoming truly financially intelligent. Okay, so we've laid out the problems. Now, how in the world do we start tearing down these walls? Let's start with laziness and bad habits. The secret isn't more willpower. It's building a better system. And for that, we're going to turn to the amazing work of James Clear. This is such a critical distinction. Forget about your goals for just a minute and focus on your systems. A goal is the result you want, right? I want to save $10,000. A system is the process that gets you there, like I'm going to automatically transfer 10% of every paycheck into my savings account. Here's the thing. Winners and losers often have the exact same goals. The difference is their systems. A good system makes progress feel almost inevitable. Now, to build a system, you have to understand how habits actually work. And every single habit, good or bad, follows this exact 4-step loop. There's a cue, which is the trigger, a craving, which is the motivation, a response, that's the habit itself, and a reward, which satisfies that craving. So if you want to build a good habit, you just have to make the cue obvious, the craving attractive, the response easy, and the reward satisfying. So let's connect the dots here. We can take Kiyosaki's pay yourself first rule and turn it into a completely automatic system. The cue, your paycheck hits your bank account. The craving, that feeling of financial security and freedom. The response? An automatic transfer to your investment account that happens without you lifting a finger. And the reward? Watching that account balance go up. You engineer the habit so it just runs on autopilot. That's how you beat laziness. Okay, next up, how do we tackle fear and arrogance? These two are tough, but we can beat them by training our greatest asset, our mind. See, it's hard to be afraid of something you really understand, and it's impossible to be arrogant when you're constantly learning. The tool for this is intense focus. Kiyosaki absolutely nails it here. Your mind, that's the engine that creates wealth. But, and this is a big but, it needs to be trained. An untrained, distracted mind will lead to poor results every time. But a trained mind, it can generate incredible wealth. The real question is, in a world that's designed to distract us, how do you actually train it? The answer is something author Cal Newport calls deep work. This is the skill, and it is a skill, of focusing without any distractions on a really demanding task. It's about pushing your brain to its limits, like a workout. This is how you learn complicated things fast and produce work that's truly valuable. It's the perfect antidote to the fear that comes from not knowing enough and the arrogance that comes from thinking you know it all. Now, let's compare that to its opposite, shallow work. This is probably what most of our day looks like: answering emails, sitting in meetings, scrolling social media. It makes us feel busy, but it doesn't actually build any valuable skills. Deep work, on the other hand, is where the magic happens. It's how you develop real financial literacy, how you research an investment properly. It's how you conquer fear by replacing it with genuine competence. We've tackled 4 of the 5 big obstacles. That just leaves one: cynicism. And it's a big one. Cynicism puts you on an island. It tells you that everyone's out to get you and that every opportunity is probably a scam. The cure is to realize that wealth is almost never built alone. It's built with and through other people. This piece of wisdom from Dale Carnegie is the ultimate cure for cynicism. A cynical mind is always focused on itself. It's always asking, what's in it for me? Carnegie just flips that whole idea on its head. The real power, the real magic, comes from being genuinely interested in other people. That simple shift opens up a universe of relationships, knowledge, and opportunities that a cynic will just never, ever see. And this is your roadmap for doing just that. These are simple, practical actions you can take to literally rewire a cynical brain. When you stop criticizing and you start asking curious questions, when you make it a point to listen more than you talk, you stop seeing everyone as a potential threat and you start seeing partners and possibilities everywhere. So, we've looked at the problems, we've gathered all the tools, now it's time to put it all together. This isn't about just trying one random tip here or there, it's about weaving all of these ideas into a single, powerful new way of operating in the world. And here it is, your integrated toolkit. It all starts with Kiyosaki's mindset, that fundamental switch to being an active problem solver. Then you support that mindset with James Clear's systems, so your good habits run on autopilot. You fuel the whole thing with Cal Newport's deep work, building skills that have real value. And you amplify it all with Dale Carnegie's principles, turning your network into your single greatest asset. You see, each piece makes the others stronger. And that brings us to the most important part. This is not about some massive overnight transformation. It's about starting small. So think about those 5 obstacles we talked about: fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance. Which one of those really hits home for you? Which one is your biggest roadblock? And more importantly, what's the first tiny 1% change you can make today to start building a system to overcome it?